Microsoft was using engineers in China to maintain the Department of Defense's computers. ICE arrests Chinese nationals defrauding elderly citizens. And the US is fighting back against CCP influence on American campuses. Then more on this week's China News headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, you really should be using a VPN like Surfshark to cover your tracks and protect your identity. I'll tell you more in a bit. You know, when I started this show over a decade ago, I hoped I could warn people about the dangers of trusting the Chinese Communist Party. This has been a depressing week for me, because this new report by ProPublica exposed a little-known Microsoft program that could expose the Defense Department to Chinese hackers. Microsoft has engineers in China doing tech support for US Defense Department computer systems. Let me say this again. Engineers in China are maintaining the US military's computer systems. How could this happen, you ask, screaming into the void? Well, because technically, Microsoft is following the Defense Department's requirements. There are US citizens overseeing these engineers in China. But as ProPublica says, these workers, known as digital escorts, often lack the technical expertise to police foreign engineers with far more advanced skills. It makes sense they were called digital escorts because Microsoft just whored out America. Might it be a problem to have Chinese engineers working on the Defense Department's computers? You know, since national intelligence calls China the most active and persistent cyber threat to US government, private sector, and critical infrastructure networks? Well, according to ProPublica, the Defense Department didn't even know that Microsoft was doing this. Don't worry, this program has been going on for only a decade. The program is only used for information below classified, but the real concern is whether this was a gateway for Chinese hackers. China hacks the US a lot, you see. I wonder if there's a connection. At least on the bright side, it seems I'll have plenty of content for this show for another decade. Join me. Leave a honeypot emoji in the comments below. 2 Chinese illegal immigrants were arrested for plotting to scam elderly Americans out of their life savings. On May 29th, ICE Buffalo arrested Huawei, who they say tried to defraud an elderly couple out of their $20,000 savings. And this month, ICE Buffalo also apprehended Jian Chen, who they say successfully defrauded an elderly woman out of $42,000. I think seniors in New York are going to need an upgraded version of Life Alert. Chen sought another $98,000 from the same woman and made plans to meet her, but met ICE agents instead. These two aren't the first. Last October, ICE arrested a man named Hui Chen for attempting to defraud a local senior citizen out of $40,000. I know ICE is controversial right now, but I think we can all agree that illegal Chinese immigrants scamming money out of senior citizens transcends the American left-right political divide. But maybe I'm just too bright-eyed and innocent. Let's change that. I've been reporting how the EU has actually been standing up to the Chinese Communist Party. Well, not anymore. Spain has chosen Huawei, the Chinese military-linked telecom company, to store and manage digital intelligence wiretaps. Some Spanish national police are none too happy about this, given the obvious threat it poses to national security and the state's data. Glad to hear that, unlike Microsoft, they're fans of the show, or just have common sense. But the same can't be said for the socialist government in Madrid. Huawei is apparently supplying its very own high-performance storage servers to keep the data. As if anything made in China is high performance. But give horrifying credit where horrifying credit is due. The CCP is great at monitoring its own people. Of course, Huawei says that it won't pass on any of the collected data to the Chinese government. But if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. It's probably going to collapse since it was made in China. But this is how China always divides the EU. They find the weak link and exploit it. And after the break, China's grip on U.S. colleges and universities might be loosening. Welcome back. The director of the Princeton University Press, a nonprofit publisher with close ties to Princeton University, has been accused of campaigning to whitewash the Uyghur genocide. So what, is she saying instead of concentration camps, they're sleepaway camps where they get to sleep forever? During a recent trip to China, Christy Henry had this to say about her visit to Kashgar, a city in Xinjiang.
Kashgar, ancient city, is a magical place. I wish I could bring all of the world here. So many cultures meet here, and it's a way for the world to see how cultures can peacefully coexist and exist in harmony. And I can't wait to help tell this story to the rest of the world, particularly to the English-speaking world.
Yeah, it's amazing how peacefully people can coexist when you round up an entire group and send them to forever sleepaway camp. Henry's trip was sponsored by, you won't believe this, the Chinese government. Here's something I'd like to show the world. Magical, ain't it? Since they took an entire population and are trying to make them disappear. Seeing what this publisher did for a free vacation, I shudder to think what she'd do for a Klondike bar. It's maybe for reasons like this that House Republicans are urging U.S. universities to cut ties with the China-backed scholarship program. That would be the China Scholarship Council, or CSC. Each year it sponsors hundreds of Chinese graduate students to attend U.S. colleges and universities. But after graduating, they're required to return to China for at least 2 years. Which is exciting, because who wants to stay longer for wild end-of-the-year dorm parties, when you can go back to an abysmal job market and compete with hundreds of millions of other desperate young people? Fun! The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party describes this as a threat to national security, since the CSC cooperates with the CCP. Republican Representative John Molinar of Michigan, who chairs the committee, said, CSC purports to be a joint scholarship program between U.S. and Chinese institutions. However, in reality, it is a CCP-managed technology transfer effort that exploits U.S. institutions and directly supports China's military and scientific growth. And they're getting scholarships to do it. This is the one time I wish more people lied about their ethnicity to try and get scholarships. They're not frauds, they're blocking spies. Beyond intellectual theft and espionage, there's also the campaign to spy on and intimidate other Chinese students who are critical of the CCP. Can't have Chinese students getting a taste of freedom now, can we? But in many cases, the students who get a CSC scholarship are forced to do the CCP's dirty work because Chinese police will threaten their families back in China if they don't. Yes, truly a magical place. Now, there's a video I want to show you, but first, did you know that every time you go online, everything you do is potentially compromised? And that's why the people at Surfshark created a VPN that keeps your internet activity private and secure. If you're not taking active steps to protect yourself, everything you do is being tracked and logged by the websites you visit, your internet service provider, and often by your own government. Using a VPN makes you harder to track. Surfshark has servers you can connect to in over 100 countries, more than any other VPN. That includes a server in the British Virgin Islands where the law allows companies to not log user data. So stay safe and check out Surfshark. With just one Surfshark account, you can connect as many devices as you want. It also comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code uncensored to get up to 4 months extra. The link is in the description below. And now for that video. I've discovered that many of you don't know I also have a whole other channel about America. It's called America Uncovered. Click on this video. You won't know whether to laugh or cry. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.